You are about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
So I'm not going to give medical advice in this first segment, but I might have to perform an autopsy on the new Game of Thrones franchise show, Night of the Seven Kingdoms. No spoilers. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but there is a new show that is part of the Game of Thrones franchise. And if you are going to tout that this is Game of Thrones, then we are assuming it's going to be Game of Thrones quality. It wasn't all that bad, but you really need to temper your expectations. Now, I got ticked off. It upset me early on. And that, I think, really made me biased. And I don't want to do any spoilers with this because I loved Game of Thrones. The later seasons, especially last season, I was like, come on, man, really? They really needed to redo the whole last season. And then the House of the Dragon, I really liked. I thought it was good. Still not to the degree as I loved Game of Thrones, but that was some good quality stuff. Really good story. Fantastic actors. So far, only the first episode was dropped on HBO Max, and the character is good. But what at first ruined it for me is my favorite part of Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon is the theme song. Dun, 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 dun. I mean, I would just sit there and just sing and rock out to it. I mean, we had to stop. You know how when you stream shows, it says skip recap. And so my husband's about to hit the button to skip. I go, skip the recap or to fast forward through the. I was like, no, that's the song, And then you see, with all the AI and all the CGI, and so I don't even need a good story. Just get me started and pumped up with that song. The only spoiler I'm giving you with this Night of the Seven Kingdoms is they didn't give the song. Now, they infused comedy, which was cute. And there was some comedy. I even chuckled twice. There were two aspects of it that made me chuckle. I don't want to chuckle with Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones, I want to be enveloped in King's Landing or with the Night Watch, or I want to see Robb Stark again. Apparently, I know, he was sexy. Apparently, the Night of the Seven Kingdoms takes place 100 years before Game of Thrones. Now, this could be cool. There could be a lot of potential. I like prequels. I think prequels like they did with Star Wars with Anakin and Padme was brilliant. They did a good job. I know a lot of people are like, come on, man. They ruined the first one with the little kid. Yeah, maybe the first of the prequels. But I really, really like the second and the third. I thought they did a really, really good job. And so I think a prequel is fantastic, especially if that's where the, if there are books that, and you guys might know more about the Game of Thrones books. I don't read a lot. I know it shows. So, but so tempering expectations and one thing I teach students, especially when it has to do with marketing and public relations and all that, even in medicine, is you only have the first few seconds to grab someone's attention. The 3 E's, right? You want to engage, you want to educate, and you want to enlist. You want to engage that person. Can they bond with you? Do they want to open up to you? And being able to engage a listener, a viewer, a patient, a student, it's an art. And you don't just yell or open up with a lot of people open up with a joke. That gets old. They need to connect with you. And so you want to connect with the character. You want to connect with your doctor. You want to connect. Then once you're connected and engaged with them, then they can educate you. Well, this is what we're going to teach you. This is what we're going to talk about. This is what the show's about. This is what, and then we want to enlist. And enlisting is you want to tune in to next episode. You want to come back for your follow-up appointment. You're going to come back to class after you read this next chapter. So you're not going to enlist somebody if you didn't engage them and you didn't educate them on why they have to do what they have to do. Now, just like with we talk about this with marketing, like these used car sales, that you see the sale, you see the big red cartoon bubble, whatever, and then you're like, oh, wait a second, there's a sale. Then the car dealership educates you on the sale, and then they enlist you, buy now. Or, I don't know, President's Day weekend, buy the mattress. And so the three E's, it's something I coined up, but it's something that we all do in marketing, et cetera. And you only have X amount of moments to grab that person's attention. You need to do that also in a job interview. If you just say the same old, but you can engage it by, well, thank you for, thank you. It's an honor to be chosen for this interview. Now, I've been really, really excited about this company, blah, 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 blah. Engage them on she did some research. She knows what the company's about. I've been actually following your work. I tell students to do this when they apply for residency. If they know who the doctor is that's interviewing them, look up what papers they wrote and say, I read your work on pseudostratified clumber epithelium, or I read your work on GLP-1s and the cardiovascular effects. And like, really? You read my paper? Okay, now they're engaged. Now, don't compliment their tie, because they that's fake. But if you actually took time to research them, not stalk, but, research what they did or research what the company's doing. Now, wow, I'm really excited to apply, for this job at SpaceX, especially, with all the work you guys are doing with this, and, but glad to be here. Okay, this person did the research, ways to engage. So if you're going to do a Game of Thrones, you better make a game. Now, it was nice not to see any incest. It was nice not to have all this gratuitous nudity and sexual content right out the gate. That was really, really nice, because I don't need that in stories. And so they did do a good job building the character. His name is Dunk. And building some of the side characters. But I don't have a lot of patience. And Hollywood understands that people don't have a lot of patience. And so I think a big miss is they really needed that song, unless they're trying to break away and say this isn't a typical Game of Thrones. Now, we're telling you right now, lower your expectations. Don't expect it. Just, we're going to tie everything in. You'll like it eventually, but bring your expectations down. So that's what, bring your expectations down. Like you do with my show. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit, and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
Hi, it's Mark Falter, host of the Financial Fitness Show. I strongly believe that no one should ever pay 1 penny more in taxes than they are legally obligated. Unfortunately, for most hardworking Americans, this just isn't the case. Why? Because most people spend more time planning next weekend's getaway than trying to ensure they're going to pay less in taxes. My financial fitness team has put together some materials that I know are going to help you. It's the Tax Savings Kit. Tax Savings Kit includes 3 things: free tax analysis, top 10 ways to pay less in taxes, and an investor's guide to taxes. Now, how do you get it? Simple. 866-764-2635. Again, 866-764-2635. I'm Mark Falter. This is Financial Fitness, making personal finance profitable.
1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So I'm in my prime, baby. I am in my prime. Depending on what I'm doing, okay? When I was doing my hospital work and my residency, I was definitely in my medical prime. When I had just graduated, I did some of the best medicine I could have ever imagined. Everything was so fresh, the things I caught. But we have different primes in our life. And just because I'm middle-aged, okay, and I am roaring to senior citizenship, pretty soon, when you hear all this talk about age and mandatory age requirements and kicking people out of office once they hit a certain age, I take offense to that. Now, I'm nowhere near the age where Rahm Emanuel, for example, wants to, cut people off with politics. But I might consider a political career later, decades from now. The problem is decades from now, I might not be in my prime. And according to Rahm Emanuel, I might need to be out of office. So he was chief of staff to Obama, and he may even be running for president. He wants to institute a mandatory retirement age of 75 years old. He says, you're 75 years old, done. He's the former Chicago mayor, ambassador to Japan. And he said Wednesday at a Center for American Progress event, he includes in that legislative branch, executive branch, cabinet, Supreme Court, and federal courts. Now, he's 66 years old. According to Politico, if he did run for office and become president, we're talking about Rahm Emanuel, not Newsom. I think Newsom is going to be the front runner, but Rahm Emanuel is going to be running. He would be 69 when sworn into office. And then if he starts a second term, it'd be 73. So he would be unable to serve all 4 years. So he did acknowledge this. He goes, I know where I am in my age. Of course, it would apply to me. You can't say, here's what I want to do to change Washington, one of the things I want to do, but I get an exemption because I bought it beforehand. But what this is would extend to is also the armed forces. He said you can't serve in the armed forces. You can't serve in private sector jobs. Go work on your golf swing. It's not that good to begin with. Okay, now that is, okay, we're not being ageist here. And that's, let's say he had good intentions for statements like that. All right. When somebody is in their 60s or 70s or 80s, it's not just about golf. A good intention would be, look, enjoy your family. With Biden, did Biden need to be president and run for a second term when he obviously wasn't getting good medical care and wasn't getting good medical evaluations and was possibly walking around with stage 4 prostate cancer, which ended up getting diagnosed? Should he be with his family, spend time with his grandkids? Yes. Now, I mean, should Trump spend time with his grandkids? I think, when you do reach a certain age, you want to make sure you don't just work. I'm a workaholic, so this is going to be my family's biggest fear, that I'm going to be working till the day I die. But I like to work. That makes me happy. But I want to make sure I spend more time with the family. I want to make sure I, leave a legacy that's not just working and patience, where I'm doing other things or media. But to say 75, you're done, that suggests 75, you're useless. Now, why is this being brought up? Well, I think the current Congress is the 119th Congress. I think it is the third oldest Congress of members in history. And people are looking at Chuck Grassley, who I think is 92, Chuck Schumer, 75, Bernie Sanders, let me look it up, I think is 84. Yep, Bernie Sanders was born in 1941. And so people are looking at, the older individuals who, might not be that effective. Like we saw with Biden, some people really want Trump out, so they're trying to see if they could disqualify him by age. But it's not age. I am about voter rights, and I think it should be about the people. And if the people want to vote Chuck Grassley or Chuck Schumer in, or if they want Ocasio-Cortez, or if they want Mamdani, voter rights, it's who the people choose. Now, we don't want gerrymandering. We don't want cheating. We don't want But if somebody wants Ocasio-Cortez, if somebody wants Bernie Sanders, and that's who wins the election, and it's a fair election, then that's the person that those constituents want serving them. I mean, if you have a district where you have a lot of seniors, are they really going to want, a young, up-and-coming progressive, or are they going to want somebody of their cloth, of their creed, of their age group, of their time? And I mean, Clarence Thomas, I don't want to see him go. I don't want to see, Ruth Bader Ginsburg go because of her age. If she wasn't well and if she was ill and not performing the duties, she needs to leave. If Clarence Thomas, God forbid, is ill or whatever and can't perform the duties. But if they're performing the duties, I mean, when you look at what Trump has done, I mean, this guy, he's not acting like, he's nearly 80. I mean, what is Trump's age? How come I keep having to look this up? Sorry, Daniel, I gotta stop and look up Trump's age. I don't understand. I know his birthday's in June, but I don't really follow. Yeah, 79. He's almost 80. Okay, I was right about something. This guy never sleeps. I mean, he's always working. Like pressers, all that. The media. I know the media like to rip him apart, but the backstory, the behind the curtain is the media love him because they always have content. They always have something to cover. They always have something to write about. So they're loving it. They have advertisers. And so what exactly is it that America wants? Is it what the media wants? Is it what other politicians want? Now, you hear people talk about term limits where, you have somebody like Harry Reid or you have somebody like Chuck Schumer that just never leaves, that they're just there. And Chuck Grassley, they just never leave. Well, that can be changed by an election. And if the voters want that individual, they can, vote that person out if they don't want him. I don't think we have to do an age restriction. But what really concerns me is coming up with this magic number of 75. Then that gets extrapolated and transferred to other industries and other sectors. And what I don't want to see is somebody say, if 75 is too old to be a politician, then 75 is too old to be a teacher, or 75 is too old to be a physician. Now, some of the best physicians I know are in their 70s. And when somebody says, yeah, but Dr. Dahlia, are they up to date on everything? Yeah, if they're board certified, you have to be. I've passed all my board certifications. Yeah, and when I do turn 56, or when I turn 60, 70, 80, whatever, I'm going to still pass my boards unless my boards aren't necessary. You're starting to see a lot of companies saying, oh, you don't have to pass your boards because some people can't pass them. No. I'm going to be taking my boards no matter what. I want to prove to people that I am still capable of doing my job. But I don't like this idea of 75, you're done. If you want to do term limits, that's a whole different conversation. If you want to term out somebody to the Supreme Court and not make it a lifelong appointment, you're going to have to alter the Constitution. You're going to have to make an amendment. And if Congress is that much older, I don't think they're going to be willing to alter that. I don't see Chuck Schumer saying, yeah, age me out. Let me see some of the data. They say 24 members of Congress right now are 80 or older. Nancy Pelosi, 85, although she's leaving. Representative Steny Hoyer is 86. Mitch McConnell, 83, but I think he's leaving also. But 24 members of the silent generation are serving in the 119th Congress, and more than half have decided to run again. Congress is the third oldest in U.S. history, according to NBC News. The average age is 58.9. Now, I'm of the age now where I'm starting to see politicians younger than me. Okay, I have never, lived in America where the president was younger than me, but we're about to. We could have a president who's young, and I don't know if I'm ready for that. And I'm not from a vanity standpoint, but the reason why you can only be 35 on up is because they want to make sure you've had life experience. I mean, not only are you representing the country, but you're running the country, and you're also dealing with world leaders, and you have to know what you're doing. I mean, Trump brings to the table economy, non-political ideas. Let's just get stuff done. Biden brought to the table decades of experience in the legislature. I mean, Kamala Harris running for president, she failed not because she was a woman, but because she didn't have experience. Governor Gavin Newsom may have the chance to be the Democratic president or the president for a Democratic nominee and then later president because he's running a state. Now, he may not be running the state well, but people might differ on how well he's doing, but you need to have accomplished something. So, to just say 75, you're out, I mean, let's leave it up to the voters. 1-877 Doc Dolly, don't go away.
Looking for a gift that can actually help secure someone's future? It's Mark Falter's new book, Common Sense Income Strategies. It makes the perfect gift for that special someone in your life. Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using time-tested strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. To learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Secure your future with Common Sense Income Strategies by Mark Falter. Again, to learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635.
We are back on Dr. Dolly Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Doc Dolly, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So I was just do at home, doing some work, seeing some patients online. And then all of a sudden I noticed that the stock market just skyrocketed. And I was like, ooh, something must have happened. Trump must have said something. What did Trump say to make the stock market skyrocket? And I guess he had announced yesterday that you all heard that a framework of a future deal of Greenland was reached. And that if the deal is finalized, he said everybody is going to be happy. Now, I thought it was, okay, well, they came up with the framework. That doesn't mean it's in play. But apparently the stock market was just, I'm really happy. And to me, that's a sign that there's more to this. And maybe this is something that is going to actually happen. I don't really see Greenland being America's, and I don't want to see it by force, but if America is supporting Greenland and we are the ones protecting them and keeping their infrastructure, and we're doing more than Denmark, I don't know, then it starts to make you wonder who actually is, who gets the credit and who has more, shall we say, skin in the game. But according to Trump, he said, based on a very productive meeting that I've had with the Secretary General of NATO, Mark Rutte, we have formed the framework of a future deal with respect to Greenland and, in fact, the entire Arctic region. Trump said if the deal is finalized, it'll be a great one for the United States of America and all NATO nations. Now, he is halting the tariffs that were going to take place February 1 against the EU and other NATO countries for not helping arrange this, being that Trump says there's the threat of Russia and China taking over. Now, I understand Russia is already next to us, just, if you kind of look to our west, but them being in control of Greenland and China, why? Because of the minerals and other rich resources it has. Trump wants to ensure America's safety and says we need it. Now, I'm not privy to all the intelligence, the military intelligence, but if Trump is right, China wants it and Russia wants it. What is the safest situation for Greenlanders? I mean, because I care about the 55,000 Greenlanders who woke up January 1 going, wait, everybody now wants to, what's happening here? And so I do anticipate that these leaders, these world leaders, such as Xi Jinping or Putin, are going to be using the next decade or two as opportunities to expand. And I think that's the next viral thing for politicians. Did I expand our territory? For people to get elected or not get removed and murdered, these leaders in non-free countries, they have to show that they made their country better. Is the economy better? Are people working? Is poverty down? Well, what's happening with the economy is even if Trump is improving it, on our end, we are going to be in for one hell of a just funk as it pertains to AI, people losing their jobs, the prices of things, and if there are scuffles and wars that start to ensue. So everybody's anticipating we are going to have a huge economic downturn in the coming years. And so what can these leaders do to protect themselves and to make their country feel like they are improving? Well, then land acquisition. And so the psychology of all that is what can they do? How can they expand their territory? Is China going to move, and take over Taiwan? Or are they going to move to other neighboring countries? Is Putin going to continue to try to take back or take over Ukraine? And so when you look at some of the areas like Greenland, which is a territory that I guess is being managed by Denmark, that looks like a babe in the woods to some of these leaders. And if it is in the best interest for Greenlanders to have protection, not only by the EU, NATO, and America, before it becomes a territory of China and Russia, which we don't think is safe, it should be up to them. And we want, this is their land. It should be up to them. But I do see why there's now this conversation. And as I said, we're not privy to all the intelligence. I mean, if there are real battleships and things moving in, or Chinese spies, I don't know. I can't even comment on that. But from what Trump is saying is this is a concern. Is he saying it because he wants support for him taking over Greenland, or is he right? Is China and Russia wanting it? I wouldn't be surprised. I believe him. So Trump said the deal is going to be put out pretty soon. We'll see. It's right now a little bit in progress, but pretty far along. It gets us everything we need to get it. So he's suggesting that Greenland will be considered an American territory. After being asked by another reporter, according to Fox News, about what NATO Secretary Rutte had to say during their meeting, Trump simply referred to him as a great leader and fantastic. He said the Secretary General was representing the other side, which is really us too, because we're a very important member of NATO. I've done a lot for NATO, and it's really nice. I mean, he says it's a deal that everybody's very happy with. Now, NATO confirmed to Fox News Digital in a statement from spokesperson Alison Hart that negotiations are aimed at ensuring Russia and China never gain a foothold in Greenland. Now, what is so important about that statement is that means NATO recognizes a threat of Russia and China, which then starts to validate and does validate what Trump is saying. And for there to be such a rapid turnaround, where rather than NATO saying, no, we're not, to actually, say, no, this is something we want to ensure, it means they know. They say the Secretary General had a very productive meeting with President Trump, during which they discussed the critical significance of security in the Arctic region to all allies, including the United States. They said discussions among NATO allies on the framework the president referenced will focus on ensuring Arctic security through the collective efforts of allies, especially the 7 Arctic allies. Negotiations between Denmark, Greenland, and the United States will go forward, aimed at ensuring that Russia and China never gain a foothold economically or militarily in Greenland. If this deal goes through, and President Trump is very hopeful it will, the United States will be achieving all of its strategic goals with respect to Greenland at very little cost. This is according to spokeswoman from the White House, Ann Kelly. So the details are not released yet. They said as details are finalized by all parties involved, they will be released. Now, I know this isn't the first time we heard that, okay, something's moving, something's, happening but it's, this is big. This is huge. I'm kind of shocked, and I shouldn't be, but this is our president. He gets stuff done. I just want to make sure Greenlanders are happy. I don't want this idea that we're taking anything by force. And the idea that, everybody's going to help support Denmark through Greenland. From what I understand, Greenland's not too happy with Denmark, because of the forced sterilization and other things. But I think, we've heard some people speak out saying that rather it be Denmark than the U.S. Well, but if the U.S. is there with their military bases, which I believe Obama had to expand on, and we've been supporting Greenland. They just haven't been in the news because we got the Minnesota riots, and you got the every time Trump gets indicted or they go after Trump and Jack Smith decides to do what he wants to do, that gets the news. But I'm actually very intrigued and interested in this because I just didn't think this was something that we were going to see, and I hope it's positive, and it's looking like it is. So we'll see what happens. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. I got to tell you, man, we're only a few weeks into January. Oh boy, this year. I'm going to need a vacation to just regroup. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away. Hi guys, Dr. Dahlia here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdahlia.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Hey guys, it's Clyde. We've had a lot of requests for Ground Zero merchandise, so we put together an online store with a big variety of high-quality items. I'm really excited to let you know about these things. We have a lot to offer you and your loved ones. In addition to our regular apparel, such as t-shirts, beanies, hoodies, and hats, we've expanded our product line with posters, flags, aprons, mugs, and a whole lot more. We also have Ground Zero collectibles, along with a limited edition of items like a Clyde Lewis canvas portrait, a Ground Zero embroidered jacket that will certainly make for great gifts and for interesting conversations with family and friends. And we now offer publications such as Ron Patton's book about mind control, MK Zine, and back copies of the official magazine of Ground Zero while it was in print. Paranoia, the Conspiracy Reader, also coming in 2023, are updated and revised books that I've written. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. So shop today at our official store by going to groundzeromerch.com. Again, that's groundzeromerch.com.
We're back. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So the next segment is going to be not for kids. So if your kids are listening, you might want to turn down the volume or give them some headphones, because we have to talk about a case or a story that has to do with the Pentagon and has to do with butt plugs. So this has made headlines, and this is one of the biggest stories of the day, where Pete Hegseth and the Pentagon is being accused of stopping butt plugs from being sent to U.S. troops in Bahrain. Now, Pentagon said it's because there's laws in Bahrain and sex toys, and it's not America, where you can be very open about what you use and, to pleasure yourself. But in other countries, there. So, but a shop in Toronto is showing a letter that they got from the Pentagon. And owners of this Toronto-based sex shop said that 2 returned items came back from a U.S. naval base in Bahrain. And according to CTV News reports, co-founder Grace Bennett recalled discovering 2 letters from the Pentagon, which effectively told her business to, in her words, stop sending butt plugs to Bahrain. Now, apparently pornographic materials or devices are not allowed in the Kingdom of Bahrain, according to the Pentagon. I don't know much about the different laws, but Bennett's business is a sex toy store called Bonjibon. And it doesn't usually send their products to Bahrain because of local laws and regulations. So she thinks what happened is somebody forwarded the packages to Navy personnel who were stationed there. And she said she didn't even know her products were going there until they came back. And they got a huge kick out of it. They thought it was hilarious. We don't judge. We want everyone to order whatever they want, and we want everyone to feel confident and start shopping for whatever they want. But there is a juxtaposition, she says, of a military person in a foreign country ordering butt plugs and having no understanding that those items are illegal in the country that they're in. So we're not sure who ordered the sex toys, but if there are, I guess, rules where the troops are stationed, and you know, we were talking about with Gaza, you know, individuals who are LGBTQ, AI plus, who are being ruled by Hamas, do not have the same freedoms as they do in Israel and America. In Israel, there's Pride Month and there's Pride campaigns, and you could be, you could enjoy who you are and be who you are. In Gaza, you can't. And a lot of, we don't understand, I think as a whole, that we have such freedoms here now. And there's freedoms in UK and Israel and other places that allow you to be LGBTQAI plus, or allow you to enjoy pornography or enjoy sex aids and sex toys, which is a huge industry these days. But sending toys to, whether it's a vibrator or whatever, apparently not allowed. I don't know much about the laws of Bahrain, but those are the laws. So now, is it that the Pentagon is going after people using sex toys? I don't see it as that. I see it as if you have somebody stationed in an area and there's something that could be contraband, we have to, I guess, understand that these individuals are in a country that's not theirs. The base is American. And you have American protections on the base, but there's this symbiotic relationship with whoever is allowing America's base there. Now, I want people to be very, very careful as it pertains to AI. So the second part I want to say about this is Google AI, when you bring up risks of using anal plugs or anal sex toys or butt plugs, they suggest using glass. I'm not joking. That is not something I recommend for anybody. All right. Now, there are medical grade silicone, which is safer. But apparently, the Google AI says use body safe materials like glass. They say ensure a flared base to prevent loss because you don't want to get it stuck. You want to be able to withdraw it. They suggest to maintain hygiene, stop if painful, and they're not wrong about that part. But I would not use glass. These things break. What have we seen in the medical community? We've seen tears. We've seen fissures. We've seen hemorrhages. We've seen infection. This could happen with vaginal sex toys too. But unfortunately, the tissue in the anus and rectum is not it's not as, shall we say, thickened and as lubricated as a vagina is. And so you have to ensure that you're using proper lubrication and proper, because you can sadly cause micro tears. And with micro tears, you could then get infection. And if you get infection, you get it burrow through. You could get these canals and fistulas, and it could be, I mean, does the average person suffer from maladies from it? No. But have we seen some things go bad? Yes. I just wouldn't recommend glass. I'm kind of shocked by that. That was, So, perforations is probably one of the worst things I've seen from something that was inserted that shouldn't have been. And it wasn't a rape. It was consensual. We've also had people, unfortunately, insert things into their penis that got stuck. One child used an apple cord and I believe put that in and lacerated his urethra. And then there was somebody who was injecting foam. They got it at like Home Depot. It's an insulation, and they injected insulation into their penis to help maintain erections. Now that the average person doesn't go to a medical provider anymore, they don't know how to ask people. They don't have an opportunity to educate themselves. They go online, and I guess some idiot is telling people that you could go ahead and put this stuff in. If you have, let's say, a child, you want to ensure that there's somebody that child respects that can talk to them about sex toys or sex aids so that they don't hurt themselves. I don't think the average person knows that you need to have plenty of lubricant or you need to be careful or watch for these things. I don't think the average person knows that you should never put anything in your urethra, ever. That's bad news. And so they're learning this stuff online. And if you do have a child going, oh, no, not him. He reads the Bible every night. He's not. What I did with my kids is I said, look, even if you're not doing the following, you are going to get the lecture. And this is what I want to talk to you guys about. And so at least you give, and I don't want to hear it. Well, then if they don't want to hear it from you, hopefully a cool uncle or a cool cousin they respect. There's always somebody that they might respect, a family friend, to then be able to kind of talk to them and say, look, just want to tell you, a lot of kids are doing this out there and they're hurting themselves. So I want to make sure you're aware. You don't have to tell me what you're doing, but I just want you to be aware of these are some of the things these kids are doing. So, try not to fall into that same trap. But, you've seen, the Pentagon and trying to manage the delicate diplomacy needed between the people on the base and the country that they're in that has much different rules as it pertains to sexual orientation and sexual toys and pornography, etc. That I don't think this is, as I guess as critical a news piece as the media is. Yeah, but it does make you wonder about how do these troops and people, get to have sexual intimacy and get to be able to satisfy what they need when they're on tours for months or years at a time. So, apparently they're not supposed to be getting stuff from a Toronto sex shop. So, it was a nice gesture by that person, but no. 1-877-Doc-Dolly, don't go away.
Looking for an easy read that can actually help secure someone's future? Pick up a copy of Mark Falter's book, Common Sense Income Strategies. For the past 30-plus years, Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. It's not rocket science, it's a pretty easy read. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. Common Sense Income Strategies is available now on Amazon or by calling 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Common Sense Income Strategies by Financial Fitness Show host Mark Falter. Secure your financial future today.